Julius Malema has once again grabbed the continental spotlight, this time during a high-profile visit to Nigeria where his message of African unity struck deep chords and stirred heated debate. Known for his fiery rhetoric and bold gestures, Malema used the trip not just as a political engagement but as a symbolic act of solidarity between South Africa and Nigeria, two nations whose histories and futures are tightly linked. With passionate speeches and deliberate symbolism, he urged Africans to rise above all divisions, warning that without unity, empowerment, and collective resolve, the continent risks remaining trapped in dependency and disunity. His Nigerian visit is already dominating conversations, sparking both praise and suspicion about his true motives. Julius Malema has once again placed himself at the center of continental conversations, this time during a visit to Nigeria where his message was bold and carefully calibrated to resonate beyond South Africa's borders. Known for his fiery rhetoric and advocacy for African unity, Malema's trip was more than another stop on his itinerary. It was a symbolic gesture of solidarity, a reminder of the role South Africa and its leaders can play in shaping a Pan-African future. From speeches to deliberate gestures of respect for his host, the visit is generating buzz in both countries, sparking conversations about his political vision, strategy, and ability to dominate headlines at home and abroad. At the heart of his message was unity. Malema argued African nations must rise above divisions created by colonialism, tribalism, and rivalries, insisting the continent's destiny can only be secured through collective effort. He emphasized that Nigeria and South Africa, as two of Africa's largest economies, have a duty to set the tone, working side by side to chart a path of development and sovereignty. His speeches struck a chord with audiences who see parallels between South Africa's struggles with inequality and corruption, and Nigeria's own challenges with governance and insecurity. Malema's visit also showed his instinct for political theater. In Nigeria, he connected himself with the struggles of ordinary people, adopting the language of solidarity and resistance that has long defined his brand. He spoke of uplifting African youth, who make up the majority of the population, and warned that without unity and empowerment Africa risks remaining a passive player in global affairs. His rhetoric blended hope with urgency, painting a picture of a continent with unmatched potential too often squandered by leaders who put personal gain above progress. The symbolism of Malema's presence cannot be overlooked. For years, tensions between South Africans and Nigerians have been inflamed by xenophobic violence and political bickering. By stepping onto Nigerian soil and calling for unity, Malema sought to counteract those divisions, signaling that African leaders must not only condemn xenophobia but build bridges between their people. His words carried weight given South Africa's history of violence against African migrants, including Nigerians, incidents that strained diplomatic relations. By tackling this issue head-on, Malema demonstrated awareness, acknowledging scars of the past while calling for healing. Critics back home, however, were quick to question his motives. Some argue the visit was less about unity and more about Malema positioning himself as a continental figure, using international platforms to bolster his image at a time when South African politics remain unpredictable. The EFF's role in the government of national unity is still being debated, and Malema's presence abroad could be seen as a strategic move to remind allies and opponents that his influence is not confined to Pretoria or Johannesburg. By presenting himself as a continental voice, Malema strengthens his image as more than a party leader. He paints himself as a visionary capable of shaping Africa's future. Supporters, on the other hand, insist his message of unity is both timely and necessary. At a time when global powers compete for influence in Africa, Malema's call for Africans to put Africa first resonates powerfully. His Nigerian audience, familiar with resource exploitation and foreign interference, understood his plea for sovereignty as more than a slogan. Malema positioned himself as a defender of African independence, urging nations to reject short-term aid or deals that compromise long-term freedom. What made his speeches striking was the way he tied historical struggles to present challenges. Malema drew on the legacy of liberation movements across Africa, reminding his listeners that freedom was won through sacrifice and unity. He then warned that the same unity is required today against economic dependency, corruption, and disunity. His ability to weave history and current realities gave his message emotional weight, making it clear that he sees Africa's liberation as an ongoing process. In Nigeria, Malema also made time for symbolic gestures. He visited historical sites linked to independence and met with influential leaders, blending diplomacy with grassroots connection. His interactions with students and young activists were especially powerful, as he encouraged them to see themselves not as passive observers but as the engine of Africa's renewal. His insistence that Africa's youth are the real majority struck a chord, given the continent's demographics. In a region where unemployment is high, his call for self-reliance and entrepreneurship spoke directly to frustrations. Back in South Africa, analysts are debating what this visit means for Malema's ambitions. Some suggest his focus on Pan-African unity is part of a broader strategy to reposition the EFF as a continental movement. By aligning with leaders outside South Africa, Malema is creating a political identity that transcends borders. Others argue the real test lies in whether he can translate words into action, especially when domestic issues remain unresolved. South Africans struggling with load shedding and economic stagnation may wonder whether his focus abroad distracts from urgent issues at home. Yet what is undeniable is Malema's ability to command attention. His Nigerian visit has been covered widely, fueling discussions not just about his style but about the broader question of African unity. By forcing the issue into the spotlight, he ensures both critics and supporters engage with the idea of a united Africa where South Africa and Nigeria play leading roles. The fact that his visit generated both admiration and suspicion reinforces his reputation as a polarizing but unignorable force. For Malema, the visit serves multiple purposes. It strengthens his profile, deepens ties with Nigerian leaders, addresses xenophobia, and reinforces his identity as a champion of independence and youth empowerment. For Nigeria, the visit was an opportunity to showcase partnership, signaling to South Africa that cooperation can overcome tensions. For ordinary Africans, the visit was a reminder that despite divisions there remains a shared dream of a stronger continent. As Julius Malema returns home, the question remains how his message will resonate in South Africa. Will it inspire deeper commitment to Pan-Africanism, or be dismissed as political theater? What is clear is that his visit added a new dimension to the political conversation, ensuring unity is not just a slogan but a topic of debate. Whether seen as visionary or strategist, Malema's ability to seize the spotlight remains unmatched.